Okay, so these are your colour wheels for colour correction. It's the same scenario as Avid. The first wheel affects blacks, the second wheel affects midtones, the third wheel corrects your highlights. The last wheel is like a master wheel where you can sort of do an overall sort of correction on the entire picture once you're sort of happy with the first three wheels. They're named slightly differently. They're named lift, gamma and gain instead of in Avid. They look like this: shadow, midtone, highlight. So they're just named a little bit differently, but you can work in log mode and that will give you what you're used to in Avid. But primary wheels is actually better from what I've learnt. Below the wheels are these little sliders. That's how you actually affect, if you look at the picture, that's how you actually affect using lift. I'm affecting my blacks at the moment. Okay, so each colour wheel has a slider below it. So the first slider is for your blacks, the second slider is for your midtones, and your third slider is for your actual gain. Okay, actually making the picture brighter. And the last wheel is like a master. You know, if you just want to nudge something, you can just make it slightly brighter using your master if you wanted to. Generally, you won't have to use your master. You should really get it right with the first three wheels, and then you're done. Below that is there's two tabs, two pages, page 1 and page 2. So on page 1 you've got contrast, so you can increase and decrease the contrast. Let's reset that. Pivot, the pivot control adjusts which part of the picture it's sort of making more contrasty, so you can make the blacks more contrasty or the whites more contrasty. I don't really use contrast and pivot mostly at all. I just leave it alone. I do everything with the sliders, the wheels. Saturation is just saturation, just boosting the chroma. Hue, if you need to change your hue, you can do that. On the second tab, on page 2, you've got your color temperature. So maybe the cameraman's white balance was just a little bit out and things are either a little bit sort of bluish or, you know, a bit red. You can quickly fix it with that. Okay, it's got quite a bit of control, so if the cameraman really fucks up, it should be able to fix it. 0. Tint is just a quick way to sort of just give you a picture of tint, but it seems to only sort of give you green and purple, so I don't really use it because I don't find it that useful. Reset that. MD is a noise reduction and sharpening tool, so you can reduce noise. If you go too far, it's going to soften the picture quite a bit. If you go the other way, it'll actually sharpen it up for you. Put that back to 0. CB is color boost. Okay, so it's like increasing your saturation, but just behaves in a slightly different way. Seems to avoid skin tones a little bit and sort of punch up the reds and blues a little bit. Just gives the picture a bit more oomph without sort of oversaturating people's skin. Shadows is just a quick way of adjusting your blacks. Again, I don't use it. I just use the lift slider to adjust my blacks and get that right. You shouldn't really need to touch your shadows. And highlights is a way to control your whites. So if something's either too bright with the whites, like the sun, I can bring that back. Or if someone's wearing a jersey with a white number, or you want the white lines on a football field to sort of pop, which looks really contrasty and looks really good, you can wind your highlights up and actually increase your whites. It's a great effect. And that's pretty much it. So I'll just do a quick color correction on this. I'm just going to go up to my node up here and right click it and say reset node graph. That resets all my color corrections. And down here I'm going to do my blacks and play basically between my blacks and my gain to get the picture exposed right. Just a combination of both of those. That right. I'm going to get some more chroma into it, so I go to saturation, line the saturation up a bit. I'm going to warm the picture up, and the best way to warm the picture up, you can either use offset, which will give you like an overall you look at the screen, it'll give you an overall tint. But a nice way to, it's a bit too overall for me, so I actually like to use gamma, which is your midtones, and that gives a nicer, more natural warmth to the shot. The other offset just makes everything too orange. So it's just like holding a bit of cellophane over the screen, so it's a bit too intense. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm just going to go to the second tab down here and go to my highlights, and I want to pull back that sun a little bit. So I can actually pull back that sun and get a bit more colour in the rays of the sun. If we do a before and after comparison with the original using Shift D on the keyboard, you can toggle between corrected and uncorrected. That's it.